We got a lot to talk about, but it's a different level conversation. You got to get tapped in, family. You got to get in tune with what's going on in the spirit. Because what you seeing in the world is gonna disappoint you. People gonna disappoint you. And if you invest in that and you don't, it's like going to work for somebody and you have to work their program instead of going to work with some to going to work and working a trade skill. I'm of the belief that you get more out the trade skill because then at the same time, if they not acting right, you can tell them you can walk. You ain't got to argue with them or fuss or nothing. You can walk. Don't listen to what people be talking about. Oh, why would you do that? Woo! Because I went to school and learned a trade skill. And if you not me and you can't agree, to terms where it's gonna benefit me, not just you. Man, I wouldn't care how much they talking about. The hell, the conditions matter. Then respect. A lot of people don't have no respect for you. They want to use you to hell up, use you to their convenience, and it's not convenient for the nation. I don't just speak for me. I speak for me, my children, my friends, and I need to be more inclined with my family like I know I should. But I'm out here on the grind, family. But that ain't no excuse for not being. And I do call, but you need to take your ass there and spend time with them. Ever more so now. Don't get caught up in your world like me and you missing precious time. Them phone calls ain't gonna get it. You got to do more. You got to be present. Because why? We being attacked, family. Real talk. And then you got to be equipped. We the people. So that comes with a a greater responsibility. And it's not about you walking around talking about we the people, we the chosen. Oh, we got no, you a servant. Jacob is a servant. Get knowledge, but not all I get understanding so you can move right, family. I tell you the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you. Uncle Wayne ain't gonna lie. That's a nice truck. I'm gonna put me something together. It's gonna be real fast though. And I'm gonna have that boy souped up to go. I've been putting together a part of a project one of the kings putting together. And man, it's been fun. He got a 71 Chevelle. He didn't let me put hands on it. Oh man, that's a nice machine. And he said, he asked me, did you take some pictures or put it? Yeah, I recorded a video while I was in the garage actually working, but I didn't show the car because he might not have wanted his car showed. That's his project car that he putting together, but it ain't no raggedy car. Nah, when I go back, then I'll film nothing in your PJs. You're an old man. You got the nerve to go out there in your PJs. You're an old man. You ain't no you. I felt that cold. That's why I came in. That's why I came in. Now I stood up there and spoke. I done already made a video. It's time to go to bed because I gotta get up early. I got a couple cars I gotta put hands on. I got an Audi A4, my buddy car. One of the guys, peace to the God. Because I know he is subscribed to the channel. Thank you, brother, for subscribing. That helps me grow. I haven't been really paying attention to the channel numbers, but I've seen it has expanded. I got 400 followers now. I mean, 400 people that subscribe. You're not my father. I don't. You don't owe me nothing. We look to the Father. That's where our help coming from. Anything else is deception. I don't follow no man, family. Save the spirit. And the spirit of Yahushua. You gotta get that part. Yahushua. And you gotta do it with love. Love. We see hate all day. All morning I watch the news, world news. It's a damn shame what's going on over there. What's going on in the old world. They say this the new world, right? But look at their actions. It don't seem new worldish to me. It seems like what dudes say, I'ma rain hell on you. Exactly. Seem like the devil at work. That's not how the Most High move. That's how the devil move. And there's a lot of their minions out here. They own one. The Most High is about growth, and life is about growth and development. You can't get caught in politics. They doing too much. Pray for them, and you know how to move. We move and according to what's written. I just made a video too, but this video speaks particularly to that special people. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but you special to the Most High, so-called Negroes. What do the words say? That's what this video about. And I'm doing it in love. And the Gentiles, y'all need to know this. You don't need to worship us. No. Trump warned the world. He was right. Many people missed this warning from Trump. Alert. Trump predicted this before. Bible prophetic word today. Y'all need to stop equating what he's doing. A nightmare is coming to every American household. We're doing. You need to stop praising what he's doing because all that does is infuriate the Most High. You think he's doing the work of the kingdom of heaven? I don't think so, because he would be gathering all men together. There wouldn't be no damn wars, you know. That's all they know is war. They promote war across the world, and they mismanage. I don't give a shit what degree they got. That degree is somebody's philosophy. What spirit were they of? Because what I'm saying, stop playing. These people is different. They not like us on everything, and y'all know it. 400 years confirmed. That 400 years, Deuteronomy 7:6. For thou art an holy people. What's that word? What that word holy mean? Kodesh. That means sacred, from sacred, ceremonially or morally. God, by eminence, an angel, a saint, a sanctuary, holy, one saint. So you set apart unto the Most High, holy, Kodesh, people, unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Do you think that meant he said that to stroke your ego? No, that's because you're a servant. You know, you can't be running around sticking your chest out and just treating people like people don't deserve your respect. You can't do that. That's not how the children of the Most High operate. And you want to know why we're in the conditions that we're in? Yes, we got the blessings. You see the blessings on us. Everything is surrounded around our needs. Think about it. Pay attention. Yeah, they greedy as hell because they build. I can't knock them for that because we don't want to build. We want to follow in their footsteps like they doing something that's good for everybody, and it's not. That we gonna prosper from, and it's not. Compare America, what they talking about Burkina Faso. Now we got to look at it from a spiritual lens. You see the people in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. These leaders are moving like leaders. They're using their land resources to do what? And check it out. Them people are in West Africa. You know what I'm saying? The people over there in West Africa, you know what time it is. You know what time it is over there. You got a horn. It could be possibly a horn of Judah raising. Blowing a trumpet, and that's what be coming out of his mouth. Wake up. Now I don't know what their religious background is. They could be involved in Islam. Islam is real heavy over there. Okay. Well, they gonna find out who they are. I'm quite sure they learning. I hear them use that term. You got to wake up, and I'm like, okay, you woke, and you see the evidence. They talking, but Burkina Faso is putting in that work. They infrastructure and connecting people to the infrastructure and building and the business aspect of it. Then they got control of their own resources. Family, you know what time it is. These finna be the next multi-millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires right there in Africa. I don't care what they talking about. They can forecast or what they what they be doing and saying. Y'all cutting my videos. I ain't mad at you. Do what you do. It's for everybody. That let me know you listen. Keep on listening. You're gonna learn something. It's for everybody. Everything with the breath of life in it must come under submission of the Most High. You have to know the knowledge of the truth. Start reading your Bible around the clock, incessant. Get you preferably a Bible, Strong's Bible with the Concordance. Strong's with the Concordance Bible. Genesis. And it matters that you know because you have a covenant, man. Stop playing. And Jacob said what will befall you in the last days. Genesis 49, chapter 1, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Verse 2. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Verse 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Do you see who he's talking to? Reuben. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. You hear that? Verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. It don't look like these people in America and them people over there in that little strip of land, Palestine, is going through. Yes, they being persecuted over there, but that's out of greed. That's not biblical. You can see the signs and you know the difference in what happened to us as a people. The evidence, we got receipts. We got the evidence. This is a strong case before the Most High. You best believe I take it before the King. And when I speak strong with authority. And I know, I see it crumbling. It's prophetic. Y'all think it's a joke. Y'all ain't paying attention. There's so many people losing jobs by the tens of thousands. And I'm like, wow. They talking about downsizing government. That's great. But understand the past when government wasn't standing up for the Negroes. You better remember that. But don't remember it in the sense of, oh, I need these cats to provide for me. No, black people, you got to come together. You are God's people. You go to church, you the most churchy people on earth, but you don't have no faith or believe what that word is saying. I'm not perfect, but I believe, family. That's why I always talk about it. We're going to demonstrate what it's saying right now. Check it out. Genesis 49, verse 1. This is what Jacob said would befall his 12 sons and their descendants in the last days, family. But they're not here. The bloodline didn't stop. You can see the signs on the people. And when you see them signs, that's really them, family. Your life is really written about in there. But then there's an esoteric, there's a spiritual aspect to it. It's more heavenly spiritual Because why? There's meaning behind the words that we read. It helps you to understand what the Most High was truly establishing. But and you can take it to a deeper level. You can go on and learn the Hebrew, learn the ancient language, the language of creation. I will go to the Africans because the Africans over there in Africa is where the forefathers, these men I'm about to read to you about, that's where they walk. Think about it, Erie and his brothers in West Africa. That's over there right up the street from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Nigeria. And nigger. You know, that's part of that area that I heard somebody talking about that's their land. What's the name of that West Africa? What is it? Start with an S. Trump just blew a bomb over there talking about he was hitting the Taliban, just struck over there. Somalia. I'm like, no, that land was So and Utah. That land was a part of So Utah. I got the maps, some ancient maps, real maps. They're not no fakes. And I got the professor to walk you through it. A real professor, an African. You can play games, but he'll whoop your head with the Bible. Real talk. He'll have, hey, look, you love the Most High. The the word that he present in this context as it is written, fam, in the ancient language. I mean, in the ancient way of in the ancestors' way of living, is way different, fam. They had power. They vibrated spiritually because why? They didn't have nothing but the Most High, and they believed. You know, that's why they were able. And then it's written. It was written. They was gonna go through. Everybody keep talking these critical stories. Yeah, they tried to wipe us out, but you couldn't. And now it's our rise, family. Read the Bible. That's your playbook. Don't reject it. You don't understand it. That's why you reject it. I understand. And you got a lot of people that got the nerve. I'm like, stop playing. You haven't been taught about the kingdom. Christ told you preach kingdom. The Israelites came from a kingdom. They didn't come from no church. They had a temple. That's where they gathered. They studied. They had feasts. They ate good. You know, they kicked it like us. Think about how we come together when we gather in big groups like that. Genesis 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Hold on, family. Because this applies to us today in the sense that as the people, the descendants of these people, it's up to us. We are kingdom people, servants. You can't negate that's your chosen one, March 21st, with besides your faith. Your life will never be the same. Yes, the depths of the wisdom of this ancient knowledge. Oh man. I'd be gravitating to the seventh or eighth dimension. I'd be so far away from people. But yet right there, I'm like, you got to phase out. People be on such low energy. I'm like, y'all ain't woke yet. Would y'all please wake up, please? Genesis 49. It applies to you because you have a covenant and the Most High will hold you beholden to it, whether you know it or not. He told you to choose this day. But in order to make a choice means you must have understanding of what's going on. They want your savings. Man, they're gonna take your money. Ford just shocked the car market. This is what dealers pay for trucks. Look, let me tell you something. You better look around to world markets. America is not the only market that's functioning. If you must deal with that, then you got the kingdom. The kingdom has a business aspect to it too. This is where wealth, natural wealth, and then we look at the last one. I'm always talking about Africa. You could talk about in that area up into Iraq and all that Iran area. all that area. That's a mineral rich down into Africa. Africa got the most. They not gonna say it. I always hear them talking about other people, but Africa got the most. I guess that's their way of Christians confess Christ to be Caucasian. What? Bro, certain conversations I don't even entertain no more because that's not what it's about. That's gonna cause confusion because I know what the Bible say. People, let me finish this. People will tell you their version of what they've been taught, not what they read for themselves. And I assure you, if you read, I'm gonna go to it. I'm gonna go to Daniel. Daniel chapter 7. I ain't gonna go where everybody else go to. Daniel chapter 7. See, and why am I going here? Because it describes certain aspects of what Daniel seen in the Creator in this vision, in this prophecy. The Most High spoke to him. Let's see. I'm going to start from verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream. There you go, he had a dream. I remember reading these chapters and verses in my high school years, my grammar school years, really my grammar school years. No, they can never intimidate black people. Better tell them, Farrakhan, get that shit out of here. Black people is ready. We ain't on that though. We building. We ain't messing with nobody. We ain't getting involved in other people's mess. No, no, no. Go back to Africa. I would go back to Africa, and my wealth when I start getting wealth, before then, but in the pursuit, as I'm building and fruit, you start seeing the fruits of your labor. Then I'll be able to go. I want to go with a bit of security, so when I go over there, there's certain things you can do to empower yourself outside of these markets. These markets are being judged. And it's not just here, but it's even in Europe. They are attached, they connected. And all they love ally states, nation states. There's a lot of destruction in them. Daniel chapter 7. Let's see what the Bible say. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Verse 3. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld to the wings thereof a pluck, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet of it, upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, verse 5, and behold, another beast, a second like a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. Verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast also had four heads, and dominion was given to it. Verse 7. Those are actually the sons of Japhet, who we call today the European nations. Verse 7. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things. Hmm. Verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow. That's Mashiach, family. Remember, Elohim is a spirit. Those who worship him in spirit and in truth. Read John chapter 4, when Messiah was having a conversation with the Samaritan woman, who was of the stock of those brought in by the Assyrian king. You know they wasn't from Israel because they didn't understand the Judeans. If they understood the Judeans, that would let you know off top, off the rip. Okay, that's Israel. That's their brother, or that's their sister in this case. No, I can listen to what's written, and pretty much you can tell what's happening. Let the word speak. It'll come to you. Verse 9. I beheld to the thrones. Hold on. I beheld to the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. That's the Messiah. I will never say that's the Most High. That is the Mashiach. This person said they're tired of seeing ads all. Look at these haters. His throne was like the fiery flame. Who else sitting on the throne? And his wheels is burning fire. Man, y'all gotta stop getting caught up in what the other people doing. And you gotta empower yourself with this knowledge and do it like you do it. Do it to the fullest, family. Can't get caught up in the world and their politics. Politics is not conducive for you. Leave it alone. You gotta start your own. The job you're working is not conducive for you, you see the conditions. The dollar is like being attacked even from the inside. They talking about Bitcoin and other things. Well, Africa makes sense because Africa got all the earth minerals. What do you think they're investing in? Invest in Africa. The development, Africa is the next, is actually already. They ain't borrowing no money from nobody, so that empowers them, family. I don't see things like through projections. We talking about raw numbers. They got the product. They are producing and manufacturing it. Family. They getting a building infrastructure like 40 going north. They buying the supply, the machinery to do the work, educating their people. This in Burkina Faso. This country, that's the model. That's how a kingdom operates. The leader operates, the leader moves to take care of the people, to ensure that the people are put in a position where they can achieve the maximum, all they can get out of life. It ain't no limit on what a person should be able to get out of life. I don't know where people get that doctrine from. That's some spoiled people shit. We don't do that. We want that bread, yeah. But we understand there's a price that comes with wealth because there's only one who makes rich or poor. That's the Most High. Don't think it's no. How long I've been on here? 29. Okay. Pay attention. Yeah, it's 29. 30 minutes. So, what was described? The Messiah sitting on a throne. And Father, I pray that it's the Holy Spirit that bears witness to the truth, that they'll know, not me, but that your spirit will go forth and open their eyes. so they too will have understanding. Not me, but your Holy Spirit. So that describes the Messiah with a hair, with hair like what? The wool, like ours, Negroes. That's why I use the book because it connects you, family. Even Messiah said it. Luke chapter 21. I had to read that today. In lieu of all what's going on, their major housing collapse, 50% drop. The Airbnb apocalypse, 2 million vacation rentals about to flood 5 hours ago. This came out on EconoFan. EconoFan. That's the channel. EconoFan. Econo FIN. What the F just happened? Global central banks are quietly preparing for economic collapses because they want to bring you into the digital age. They want to bring it into a create a new system outside of thus said the Most High. Luke 21. Hmm. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. That already happened, family. People talking about that's gonna happen. They lying. Because why? 66 to 70, no, 64, around 63-ish, 64, because the Germans and Romans were acting up over there. And when you look up who those people are today, or even what nation, what countries came out of Rome, the Greco-Roman Empire, you will see why these nations doing what they're doing. And I only see America as being an extension of them. They came out of them. It didn't come from us. We don't live like that. We're people of resilient power, but we humble. We don't go across the world trying to make people do something they don't want to do. But yet we respect all men, but we move more so according to a code. Our code is thus said the Most High. Houthis burn U.S. warships. What? Trump to order fresh strike in Yemen after fourth attack on U.S. Lynette Zane. I used to be subscribed to her. She know that money. The next financial crisis is already here. She know that bread. Y'all need to check her out. Lynette Zane, founder and CEO of Zang Enterprise. She know her stuff. U.S. consumer borrowing surges by 40.8 billion, most on record. Yeah, because people not putting their hands to the plow. You listen to them talking about, uh, okay, it's working for you. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Don't get it twisted. But understand what's at work. What's at work here? Count the cost, family, before you sign the dotted line. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Verse 22. For these be the days of vengeance. This was after Mashiach went through what he had to go through. For these be the days of vengeance. That all things, he was the sacrifice for the sins of the world. Not just Israel, but the sins of the world. Not just Jacob in the Hebrew bloodline, Shemitic bloodline, but for the world to bring man back to the Most High. He was the propitiation, the cleansing for you. It's spiritual. A lot of y'all ain't gonna get it. You don't understand him. He too great for you. Real talk. He's the master. Y'all don't get it. He's the father. Y'all just kick against the goal, acting like Paul, your Uncle Paul. Just, whoo. But you gonna get it. I promise you, you're gonna submit. He's the word of the spiritual realness of it. That's it. Luke 21, verse 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Against who? The southern kingdom, the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people, the Judeans. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. You hear that, don't you? I don't know about them people over there and a portion of what was promised to the ancestors because that ain't the whole totality of what we read in what's that Genesis, what the Father promised Abraham. No, no, no. And they ain't the people. They didn't start back blowing over there, the Palestinians. I'm like, what? Oh my God. I pray for the Palestinians and the Jewish people because all the Jewish people don't agree with blowing up nobody. I can't say that, family. I can't. We can easily say that. Like I hear a lot of people call them Amalek. Like they not no Amalek. They are the seed of Japhet, or like some people say, they the seed of the fallen. But I don't see the power. They do operate under uh, 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 a higher knowledge. They got a whole different understanding from how we look at it, but yet we we look into that higher power, but they look into a demi form of the higher power. For real. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. They have it to the Negroes. Period, point blank. I don't care what nobody say. The evidence is there. Why? Because the Most High in Deuteronomy 28, verse, it's a lot of verses, 35. Uh, it's one before that, 20 something. I got to go over there. Captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. That's the Roman Greco Empire and their cousins, the people that you see over there today, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And that they doing all that, what they doing the most, it gives the word is true, and the scriptures can't be broken. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth. It was just a blood moon about a week ago, and in the stars and upon the earth. I'm not saying this is the time of the last of the end time. No. Israel and Judah, 144 of them are going to be gathered to go back into the land to establish the kingdom. Now, don't think what they doing, just like you in Babylon. It's like we in Babylon right now, family. You got to understand that. Look at the conditions. People won't, you going to tell me what I'm reading is not the truth? Man, no, this not for you. It's not for you. But what I'm reading is actually happening. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon. And we haven't hit the stars yet, but there was signs in the moon. I mean, in the sun. We done seen two suns at one time. We seeing eclipses, and it's like they being ramped up. Then we seeing new galaxies popping out of nowhere. And in the moon and in the stars. But we haven't seen nothing in the stars yet. We just seen the blood red rivers, the blood red beach over there in where? In Persia. Remember that Persia is a power in the kingdom family, you know, and the Most High dealt with them. The Medes and the Persians, the Medo-Persia Empire. I believe that's where King Cyrus came from, who allowed the ancestors to go back into the land and to build a temple during the time of Nehemiah. And there shall be signs in the sun. We haven't seen no sign in the stars yet. And upon the earth, distress of nations. With it's a whole lot of flooding. It's a whole lot of tornadoes hitting. I don't think nobody paying attention. I mean, right here in the middle of America. It was just a whole bunch of like 40 tornadoes about a week ago or so. So you see the fulfillment of what's written. And I pray, I stay prayed. Now I speak to the Gentiles because they don't know no better. That's why they do what they do. They think they high and mighty, but the Most High he gonna smack they back to get them to stand straight. I don't know where they get that. I know where they get it from, but I'm telling you, you better repent. Everybody, the sea and the waves roaring. Hmm. It's time for me to clock out. Time is it 10 o'clock? Yeah, I'm from South Carolina. And nope, ain't saying nothing crazy. I ain't got time for me to respond to no bullshit. I'm from South Carolina and I ain't scared no more. That's right. Oh yeah, that's Pastor Jamal. Y'all heard what Pastor Jamal told him? He told me nothing y'all can come up with that our generations haven't endured within this 400. 400 is scriptural. Remember, the Most High spoke to Abraham, and I'm going to keep harping on the Bible so you can come out of the world. Think different. Put on the mind of the Mashiach. That means to be like him. You're a king. He didn't make you a king to rule over people. He made you a king. And some of us will be elevated and moved in position according to the kingdom, according to the instructions. Read it. You think his sons and daughters going to be subservient to some presidents and all that? Better stop playing. They gonna be phased out. It's gonna be kings. It's going back to the old way. Look at what's going on. You think look what he doing over there in Yemen. You think you breeding a culture of war. I understand what they did, but it's a way to deal with it. All that what they doing, you breeding a culture of war. You know why they doing what they doing over there in Yemen. They doing it for the cause of their people because why? They feel their people being persecuted unjustly. So they got a right to stand. Now you got to show up and try to show off, but that's gonna come back to bite the fuck out of us. It's a lot of Yemenis in America. They're all around the gas stations. Don't get it twisted. And they not know they ain't scary. Listen to what they saying. Don't just listen to what America's saying. It's two sides. It's two sides because we the ones live around them people. You know what I'm saying? They own gas stations. They sell us our food. Come on, black people. Better wake up. That's why we got the most high. Yeah, things ain't how they should be, no doubt. But we gonna make it. We gonna bring it like that because he gave us the earth. The Houthis just taking out Tel Aviv's airport. Huh? I don't even want to see that. It's warning for white people. She died and what Jesus revealed about black people will shock you. I've been seeing that a lot, family. They've been having encounters, near-death encounters, and seeing the Messiah, and he been telling them, yeah, that's what I was just speaking about. That's the because black people are his people. We gotta repent and return to him. Fair use copyright, fair use copyright. I'm gonna use this for research purposes. I want to do some research. This is esoteric, spiritual. Stop using that word. This is spiritual. Pray and ask the Most High to give you discernment. So you know
I couldn't put my finger on it, but I brushed it off and got ready for work as usual. I was working as a teacher at a local high school, and that morning I was running late. My alarm had gone off at 6:30 a.m., but I hit snooze a couple of times, which wasn't like me. I finally forced myself to get up, threw on some clothes, and grabbed a quick breakfast before heading out the door. Traffic was unusually bad that morning. It had snowed overnight, and the roads were slick with ice. I was stressed because I had a staff meeting at 8 a.m., and I hated being late. As I pulled onto the freeway, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. She just wanted to check in and remind me to drive carefully. I smiled to myself and sent a quick, "Thanks, love you," before setting the phone down. That's when it happened. A semi-truck in the next lane lost control. I remember hearing the screech of metal and the blaring of horns. Everything slowed down. The truck swerved, and I saw it heading straight toward my car. I slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. The truck hit the side of my car, and I felt the impact rip through my body. The last thing I remember was the sound of breaking glass and the cold sensation of metal crushing around me. Then everything went black. I was pronounced dead at the scene. My heart had stopped, and the paramedics couldn't get a pulse. They tried for 7 minutes and 42 seconds to revive me. In that time, I crossed over. What I saw and experienced on the other side is something I'll never forget, and it's why I'm sharing this with you now. The moment my body gave out, I felt an overwhelming sense of release. There was no pain, no fear, just peace. It was like stepping out of a heavy, dark room into the warmth of sunlight. I remember floating above my body. I could see everything: the crumpled wreckage of my car, the paramedics working frantically to revive me, and the flashing lights of emergency vehicles. But I felt detached from it all. It was like watching a movie where you know you should care, but you don't feel connected to the outcome anymore. Then everything changed. I felt a pull, not physical, but like a magnetic force, drawing me upward. I wasn't scared. It felt natural, like I was supposed to follow it. The world around me dissolved, and I was suddenly surrounded by light. Not blinding light, but soft, warm light that seemed to radiate love. I began to hear music, not like anything I've heard on earth. It was layered, complex, yet perfectly harmonious. Voices singing, blending in languages I didn't understand, but somehow knew. The sounds moved through me, filling me with peace and a sense of belonging. Then I saw him. Jesus Christ stood before me. He was more real than anything I've ever seen. His presence was overwhelming, not frightening, but powerful. His eyes held the weight of eternity. His face radiated love and understanding. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me, and in that gaze, I felt completely known. Every mistake I'd ever made, every secret I'd ever hidden, he knew it all, yet he loved me anyway. Then he reached out his hand, and when I took it, I felt everything melt away. Fear, guilt, sadness. It was all gone. He smiled, and when he finally spoke, his voice wasn't just sound. It resonated through me, vibrating through my spirit. That's when he said, "Papa, there are things you must see." When Jesus spoke, his voice carried power and love in equal measure. It wasn't like hearing words. It was like the truth was being poured directly into my soul. He smiled at me, and I felt safe in a way I had never known before. His eyes, deep and endless, held the knowledge of all creation, yet there was such warmth and gentleness in his gaze. He took my hand and said, "There are things you need to know." Instantly, I felt us moving, not like walking, but more like being carried through light. We were suddenly standing in a place that looked like a vast, open field filled with light. But there was no sun, no visible source of the light. It came from everything, from the ground, the sky, even from within me. Jesus gestured toward the horizon, and I saw people. They were dressed in white robes, radiating peace. I saw children running and laughing, men and women holding hands. There was no sadness, no fear, just joy and harmony. Then Jesus pointed to a group of people. They were black men and women, shining with a brilliance that was breathtaking. "These are my chosen ones," Jesus said. "The world has misunderstood them. They have carried burdens and wounds that were never meant for them. But in the kingdom of heaven..."
That's what I just said, didn't I? Now, that don't mean that's why the world is in the state that it's in. Think about when the Most High created the heaven and the earth. We, his people, he created. We didn't form from no animals. Remember, animals came from the earth. Okay. Fish came from the earth, came from the waters. Cattle the beast of the field came from the field. Man, he fashioned and blew his ruach in them. He created man from the dust of the earth. That's why you are compatible with the herbs. And that's why it's hot right now, because the gods are being awakened. You are children of the Most High. Yeah, it's biblical. That's why I get it from the Bible. We as people. And we got to show it in love. Check it out. And wake your people up.
They are honored and lifted high. I saw them being crowned, beautiful golden crowns placed on their heads by angels. Their faces glowed with peace and pride. Jesus explained that black people had endured centuries of injustice and oppression, yet they had remained spiritually resilient. "They have been refined by fire," he said, "and now they will reign with me." My heart broke as he showed me images of suffering, slavery, segregation, discrimination. But then he showed me healing. Jesus said, "What was stolen from them will be restored." Their strength, their faith, it has never gone unnoticed. He told me that God had chosen them for a special purpose, not because they were better than others, but because their spiritual endurance had prepared them to lead others toward the truth. "They will rise," Jesus said, "and the world will know them by their strength and their faith." Jesus' first words to me after showing me the vision were filled with urgency and love. He looked at me with such intensity that I could barely breathe. "Harper," he said, "you must share this. The world is moving toward a time of great testing, and my people need to know that I see them. I have not forgotten them." He took my hand and showed me flashes of the future: unrest, conflict, fear. But he also showed me revival. I saw churches filled with people of every race and background, coming together in worship. I saw leaders emerging from unexpected places, many of them black, leading others with wisdom and humility. Jesus said, "The last will be first. The overlooked will be seen. My kingdom will not reflect the divisions of earth. It will reflect my love." Then he smiled, and the warmth of his presence filled me completely. "Tell them," he said. "Tell them I am coming soon." Jesus continued to show me more, and what he revealed next shook me to my core. After showing me the beauty and honor of black people in heaven, his face turned somber. I sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The light around us dimmed slightly, and I felt the weight of something dark and heavy approaching. Jesus gestured toward a vast scene that opened up before us. I saw the earth, but it wasn't how we see it from space. It was covered in cracks and fractures, almost like a broken mirror. The cracks were filled with darkness, and I saw people standing on opposite sides of these fractures. There were men and women of all races, but they weren't together. They were divided. I saw arguments, protests, and violence. People were screaming at each other, pointing fingers, blaming others for their suffering. There was anger and bitterness so thick it seemed to bleed into the atmosphere. Then I saw something even more disturbing. I saw churches divided. Some people were inside churches while others stood outside, looking in with longing and confusion. Inside the churches I saw preachers standing at pulpits. But not all of them were speaking the truth. Some were preaching messages of division, encouraging people to see each other as enemies. They were twisting the word of God, justifying hatred and resentment. Jesus pointed toward one of the cracks on the ground, and I saw a dark figure rising from it. I couldn't see its face clearly, but the energy around it was cold and menacing. This figure began to whisper, and the whispers spread through the crowd like a virus. People began to accuse each other, betray each other, and even harm each other, all because of these whispers. Jesus spoke with authority. "This is the work of the enemy," he said. "He has always sought to divide humanity, to turn them against each other, to make them forget that they were created in my image." Then Jesus showed me a heartbreaking scene. I saw a group of black men and women standing on one side of a crack, and on the other side were people of other races. I saw attempts to reach out, to bridge the divide, but each time the whispers would grow louder and the attempts at peace would fall apart. I saw images from the past: slavery, segregation, colonialism, and I saw how the wounds from those periods were still affecting people today. Then Jesus showed me how the media, governments, and even some religious leaders were feeding these wounds, deepening the division by keeping people focused on their differences instead of their shared humanity. I felt tears streaming down my face. "Lord, why are you showing me this?" I asked. "Because it's not too late," he replied. "This division can be healed, but it will not happen through human systems. It will only happen through my spirit." Jesus showed me a glimpse of what could be: people of all races coming together in prayer and worship. I saw leaders of different backgrounds standing together, calling for unity instead of division. I saw forgiveness, healing, and understanding. Jesus said, "This is what the enemy fears most: unity among my children." Then he looked at me with piercing eyes and said, "Tell them the truth. Tell them the divisions they see are not of me. My kingdom is not divided. My people must come together as one." After showing me the division on earth, Jesus' expression softened. The light around him brightened, and I felt warmth flood over me. He took my hand and said, "There is more you must see." Suddenly I was standing in what looked like an enormous hall filled with light. It was majestic. The walls seemed to be made of gold and crystal, and a warm glow radiated from every surface. In the center of the hall, I saw a massive table stretching as far as my eyes could see. People were seated at this table, men, women, and children of every race and background. But at the head of the table, I saw black men and women seated closest to Jesus. They were radiant, wearing white robes with golden trim. Their faces shone with peace and strength. Jesus gestured toward them and said, "These are my faithful servants. They have endured much on earth, but now they are honored in heaven." I saw scenes from history unfold before me. I saw black men and women being beaten and enslaved. I saw families being torn apart. I saw injustice, racism, and exploitation. But then I saw something else. I saw how they continued to pray, how they continued to trust in God, even when everything was being stripped from them. I saw the faith of black mothers and grandmothers who prayed over their children, even in the darkest of times. I saw communities worshiping and praising God in secret when it was dangerous to do so. Jesus' voice was filled with tenderness. They never gave up on me. Even when the world rejected them, they held on to me. They suffered not because I abandoned them, but because the enemy feared their strength. Then he showed me a moment from the future. I saw black leaders rising up, not just in churches, but in governments, schools, and businesses. I saw them leading movements for peace and justice. Their leadership wasn't based on power or status. It was based on wisdom, compassion, and faith. Jesus said, "I have placed a special anointing upon them." Their strength was forged through suffering, and now they will lead others to me. Tears streamed down my face as I watched these images. Jesus smiled and said, "Tell them. Tell them they are not forgotten. Tell them that their faith has been seen and honored." After revealing the honor and strength of black people in heaven, Jesus' expression became serious again. The light in the hall dimmed, and I felt a coldness creeping in. Jesus said, "Now I must show you the danger." Suddenly I saw churches, not just in America but around the world. I saw preachers standing at pulpits, but their eyes were cold. They were speaking words that sounded right, but there was no life in them. I saw people in the pews nodding and agreeing, but their hearts were empty. Jesus said, "False teachings have entered my church. My people have become blind to the truth." I saw a preacher on a large stage. He was speaking about prosperity, about how God would bless those who gave money to the church. People were standing, waving their hands, and dropping money at the altar, but I could see that their hearts were still burdened. They were worshipping wealth, not God. Then I saw another church where the preacher was encouraging division. He was saying that certain races were favored by God over others. People were cheering and shouting, agreeing with his words. Jesus shook his head and said, "This is not my truth. I do not see color the way man does. All are equal in my sight." Jesus then showed me how media and governments were reinforcing these lies, encouraging people to see each other as enemies instead of brothers and sisters. "Tell them," Jesus said. "Tell them to test every spirit. Tell them to seek my voice above all others." Then Jesus showed me something beautiful. After the darkness of false teachings, he showed me the rise of true leaders. I saw men and women standing boldly, preaching the truth of the gospel without fear. They were not motivated by wealth or status, but by love for God and for others. I saw churches filled with people of every race and background, worshipping together. The divisions I had seen earlier were gone. People were holding hands, praying for each other, and serving one another. Jesus pointed to the leaders at the front of these movements. Many of them were black. He said, "Their strength comes from their faith. They were tested in the fire, and now they are ready to lead." I saw a woman standing before a massive crowd, preaching with power and authority. Her words were piercing hearts and bringing people to their knees in repentance. I saw a young black man leading a group in prayer, his face shining with the presence of God. Jesus smiled and said, "My kingdom is not built on race or status. It is built on faith and obedience. Tell them, the time for revival is coming." After Jesus showed me the rise of true leaders, his expression softened, but there was a quiet intensity in his eyes. He took my hand again, and suddenly we were standing in a place that looked like a vast golden field under a bright sky. The air was thick with warmth and peace, and I could hear the faint sound of music in the distance. The field stretched out infinitely, but in the distance I could see people gathering together, praying, singing, and embracing each other. Jesus gestured toward them and said, "This is the beginning of spiritual restoration." He showed me visions of what would happen on earth. I saw churches reopening their doors, not just for worship, but as places of refuge. People who had left the faith were returning, not because of human influence, but because the Spirit of God was calling them home. I saw men and women weeping at the altar, not out of shame, but out of a deep awareness of God's love for them. I saw old divisions between races and cultures dissolving. People who had once hated each other were embracing, forgiving, and working together to rebuild what had been lost. Jesus explained, "My spirit will move in ways that no one will expect. Walls that have stood for centuries will fall. Leaders who have misled my people will be exposed, and truth will rise where lies once stood. Then he showed me a specific image that I still can't forget. I saw a large church in the middle of a city. It was old, and its walls were cracked and falling apart. But as people began to gather outside, singing and praying, the cracks in the walls began to heal. The foundation grew stronger. A golden light began to radiate from the inside, spilling out onto the streets. People walking by were drawn to the light. Some stood hesitantly at the edge, unsure welcome. But then a woman stepped out of the church and took their hands, leading them inside. Jesus said, "This is what spiritual restoration will look like. It will begin in places of brokenness and spread to places of influence. And many of those leading this movement will be those the world overlooked, the humble, the rejected, and yes, my black children who have been faithful through every trial." I saw people of all races standing together, lifting their hands toward heaven. I saw black pastors standing side by side with white and Asian leaders, united in purpose and faith. The divisions that had seemed so permanent were dissolving under the weight of God's glory. But Jesus also showed me the cost. He said, "Not everyone will welcome this restoration. Some will fight it because it threatens their power. Some will cling to their bitterness and refuse to forgive. But those who humble themselves and seek my face will experience a level of peace and joy they have never known." I asked Jesus how long this restoration would last, and he smiled. "It will last as long as my people remain faithful. The more they seek me, the greater the restoration will be." He then took my hand and said, "Tell them that restoration begins in the heart." When
you hear that? This came out 3 days ago on Esoteric Uplift. 3 days ago on Esoteric Uplift. Esoteric Uplift. She died on what Jesus revealed about black people was shocking. And here's her revelation. Now, I'm of the opinion that we are the descendants of the Shemitic people based on the revelations of the Word. Remember, the Word was shown unto Jacob. And the Word came out of Jacob, out of Judah. Out of Judah. Back to the video. I was just talking about this, especially to the Gentiles. That's why they're doing what they're doing, because the children of the promise of the covenant, the children of the covenant, the natural seed of the birth of the Shemitic, of Shem, descendants, the natural seed by way of Jacob, natural bloodline, Hebrew Israelites.
they surrender to me fully, I will rebuild what was lost. After showing me the promise of restoration, Jesus' expression became serious. The warmth in the air dimmed, and I suddenly felt a chill run through me. Jesus said, "But before restoration comes, there will be testing." The scene around me shifted, and I saw people standing in long lines. Some were at government offices, others at hospitals or grocery stores. In each line, people were holding out their hands or foreheads, waiting to receive a small implant, a chip. I saw officials smiling and explaining that this was for security and convenience. They promised it would make life easier. No need for cash or ID, no risk of theft or fraud. People eagerly lined up, relieved that this new system would make life simpler. But Jesus showed me the truth beneath it. He said, "This will not begin as evil. It will be presented as progress." I saw pastors and religious leaders encouraging people to participate, saying that it wasn't the mark of the beast, that it was harmless, even beneficial. Then Jesus showed me what happened to those who refused. At first, they were denied access to stores and services. Then they were blocked from working. Finally, I saw families being separated, children taken away because their parents were labeled non-compliant.